Hey guys, this is Ian with Team Legit, and this is my Twixler. This is a project I've been working on for a while, or had on my mind for a while. It's a Bixler, a Hobby King, actually a Bix3, this one, and I've converted it to a twin tractor setup. So literally just sliced the old motor mount off, the rear pusher, and I've 3D printed 2 motor mounts to go on the front of the wings, CA'd them in there, and this guy is running basically a bargain bin multicopter motor setup. These are some pretty old 1806 DYS motors. They're only 1400 kV, which makes them a pretty odd fit for most multicopters, but they're actually great for this because they can swing 2-bladed 6-inch either 6x3 or 6x4/5 props pretty well. So why convert this to a tractor? This style of aircraft, this kind of high wing, high pusher motor style of aircraft, it's often suggested as a trainer type of aircraft for people, especially getting into FPV, because of the clean nose. It's a great way to mount FPV equipment. But the problem with using these as a trainer or just a very stable FPV platform is that they don't fly very well. Anytime you have a motor mounted much higher than the center of drag or the center of mass, you're going to get some odd behavior. Basically, when you throttle on, the aircraft is going to tend to pitch down. When you reduce the throttle, it's going to tend to pop up, which is the opposite behavior of how most fixed-wing aircraft are. And especially when you're trying to launch the aircraft, it's of course very undesirable to have a pitch forward moment. At the moment of launch, you don't have any air flowing over the control surfaces, of course, or the wings, to be able to control the aircraft. So the only impulse that the aircraft has is a high-mounted thrust, which is going to pitch the aircraft forward. So it's just not a very good configuration for a stable aircraft, and I've firsthand seen a lot of beginners struggle with this kind of aircraft. By switching to a twin tractor, we're putting the thrust line much more in line with both the center of mass and the center of drag. This guy is extremely low volume and really just whispers through the air. This is only pushing about 60 watts per motor. So it's about 120 watts in total, which honestly is plenty enough to fly this guy if you're used to either race wings or anything with some gusto. It's going to feel pretty underpowered, but you know, I come from the NICAD and brushed balsa aircraft days, so this is plenty to move around compared to that. Yeah, so I'm going to get some onboard footage with the RunCam 2 here, and I'm going to get some hat cam as well, and let's see how this flies. Aileron with a variable amount of rudder mixed into the aileron, just to fight adverse yaw a little better. Flaps, which are made all the more effective due to the fact that they are blown flaps, so you have a prop in front pushing air both over and under the flap, which makes it really effective. And then we have a couple different mixes, like, let's see if I can activate them here. Kind of forget what my mixes are. There we go. So that is flaps mixed with aileron. Lots of expo on the inboard, linear on the outboard. So, and again, they're blown, so that just helps the aircraft roll around a little better. The roll rate is really slow compared to some of the other stuff we normally do. Oh, and of course we do have differential thrust. Let's see if I can remember how to activate that. There we go. Of course the motors aren't very powerful, so on the grass you kind of need both of them to get going. Very smooth, very graceful. Of course, as I said, not a lot of power, so you gotta watch your momentum with this guy. just to make sure that you're going to have enough speed to do whatever you want. It does not have a ton of punch out. Yeah, that's not too fast, and that's full. And you can see it kind of lazily starts to climb under full power. That's full power, and it'll stall a little bit, and that's throttle off. So it glides pretty well, being a motor glider of sorts. And let's see, we'll bring it in a little closer. Mixing rudder into aileron really helps with adverse yaw on this aircraft. Now the handling characteristic that I really want to show with this guy is the fact that throttle on and throttle off, it pretty much stays level in the moment of applying power. So any aircraft as it accelerates is going to start to climb, and as it decelerates it's going to sink because lift is just a function of airflow over the wing. But what you don't want is you don't want the thrust angle of the props and the thrust line of the props to be imparting a pitch onto the aircraft. So what I'm going to do is I'll get into the wind as best I can here, just to make it a little more obvious. So that's power off. I'm going to power on, and it pretty much just goes straight. And that was a behavior that was totally different in the original. So power off, power on, and no immediate pitch up, but it just gradually climbs. And I'm really not touching the elevator at all here. I'm basically doing aileron. Well, there's a little bit of elevator, but I'm basically doing aileron, and I'm just letting the aircraft take its natural sink or climb rate. So let's see, I'll go out and turn around. Actually, I think go in the other direction. Make it a little more obvious. Okay, so I'm going to settle in, come through the turn. I'm not going to touch the pitch at all. Power off and power on, and there she goes. And of course, when you have twin tractor, you don't have any torque roll, which is great. So you can just punch it and it doesn't roll to the right or the left. You don't have to mess with angling the props to try to get a specific yaw imparted on the aircraft to go with the throttle. Everything is easy when you're running a twin tractor. Of course, you do have to make the props counter-rotating to get that that lack of torque roll, which I think power off, you should be able to see that the props spin in opposite directions. This thing, I mean, for something slow, I know Team Legit, we don't usually do slow stuff, but I think this is just so much fun. Hopefully with the onboard video, you can really get a sense of the stability of the aircraft, throttle on and throttle off, which is most of the point of doing the twin tractor. And then here, I'm gonna do a pass at full throttle. So I'm guessing you can hear that, and it's basically a whisper. So with a pusher, although pushers do have a lot of advantages in terms of durability and packaging convenience, especially when running FPV, they make a lot of noise, and that's because of the turbulence coming off the wings. Basically, anytime you put something in front of a propeller in the inflow of air coming to the propeller, you're creating an uneven flow of air. You're creating something with vortices and eddies and all sorts of interesting shapes and pressure gradients going into the propeller, and that makes it loud. not to mention less efficient. So, you know, when you're doing when you hear a race wing go by and it's screaming and making a racket, a lot of that, I mean, part of it is due to the fact that it's a fast, powerful aircraft, but a lot of it's due to just the fact that pushers are really loud. I'm honestly surprised there aren't more aircraft on the market in this configuration. Probably the most classic FPV plane similar to this is the Twin Star from Multiplex, which I had one of those before I moved out here to California, and I liked it quite a bit. And yet, because it was designed kind of prior to the popularity of FPV, it's not really designed for FPV. It's I would call it a semi-scale foamy. Kind of looks like a what do you call it? Not a beaver, but an otter. Kind of looks like an otter. The aircraft, I think it's a de Havilland otter. And we've had things like the Hobby King Sky Mule that kind of ape the Twin Star format, but again, that thing's a little big, a little substantial. I'm surprised we don't have smaller aircraft like this, or aircraft exactly like this. I'm surprised no one's done the kind of small high wing trainer with a twin tractor. You see this configuration in extremely beginner stuff where the idea is no control surfaces and you fly the thing entirely on either adding power, subtracting power, or using differential power. But this thing just flies so nice. I'm surprised we haven't seen more of it. Wonder if the props are in the shot here. Let's see, can I make it back with no throttle? I think it's gonna need some throttle. Maybe not, maybe it'll come back with no throttle. Dead stick landing? I think so. I'll just give you a quick shot of the underside. So that's what the bottom of the aircraft looks like. I've got, they're just 12 amp Hobby King Blue Series ESCs in the wings. And I've got an internal Bex, so I'm not using either of the Bex on the ESCs. But they are airplane ESCs, roughly speaking. Modifications that I've done to this, in addition to the twin tractor setup, are I've added a 3D printed landing gear holder. The original landing gear holder breaks pretty easily, so I just 3D printed a new one, and then I put much larger wheels on it so that it can actually run off grass a little better. I'm going to be starting a Team Legit 3D prints, basically, collection. This should be available both on teamlegit.com and Thingiverse. I'm going to make a Team Legit Thingiverse account. And so hopefully a lot of our 3D prints designs will be made available there, both for the legit wings and then things like this. So I'll have the motor mounts as well as the 3D printed Bixler landing gear mount available there. I know there's some of those available on Thingiverse. I printed out a couple of them and realized that none of them really fit the original landing gear very well, so I made my own. So the link should be in the description of this video if you want to check that out.